Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, my friend? I am so excited that you are here. Welcome. If you are new here, I'm so happy our paths have crossed. Welcome to your new cozy corner of the internet. So happy that you're here today and that we're in this moment. My name is Talia Joy. I am a life coach, a guide, a mentor, a mom of three. Let's see what other labels I can come up with. Human design reflector, island girl, empath, Canadian, and most of all, I'm a human on the journey just like you are. And we're doing this thing, the self-growth, the healing, the personal development, the transformation. That is what we are here for. So I'm really excited that you're here. So today we are talking about something that shows up for all of us, especially those of you that are here now listening. And we're talking about the nudges that we have within, the gentle nudges from inside, from our heart, from the universe, from our intuition, however you want to frame it, whatever feels good for you, that's what we're talking about. And it's those little whispers, those signs, those synchronicities. Sometimes, if you know, literally hearing words in your mind being like, you should do this, or yoga, or go to India, or whatever it is, we get these nudges. And when we pay attention, they guide us toward growth, toward our manifestations, our goals, and really our highest path. That's how I like to think about it. No matter what the nudges are, we'll get into it in the episode, you can trust over time that they are guiding you to your highest good, the highest good of all. So yes, that is the abundance, but it's also the self-love and the peace in your heart and the fulfillment when you put your head on the pillow at night. So sometimes these nudges, it's not like you get a nudge and then, $10,000 comes into your life. It's not always like that, because these whispers will lead you to growth. They'll lead you to healing. They'll lead you to expansion. And yes, they'll lead you toward your wildest dreams so that you can really step into that, because those images and those visions and those feelings that you have on your heart, they are there for a reason. They're there on purpose. So I'm really excited to talk about the nudges. Of course, we're going to talk about the nudges and when we listen, how we can listen, but we're also going to talk about when we don't listen, because as always, when I talk about these things, I could have my hand raised way up in the air to say, I know what that's like to have a nudge for, let's be real, sometimes decades that you just don't pay attention to until finally it's like, okay, fine, right? So we're going to talk about that as well. And I'm talking about all of this to you today, not just because I think it's like, oh, this is something you'll relate to, but I know you are self-led. You are somebody who wants to grow, who is growing, who is evolving, who is learning to tune into your intuition, who is learning to move through looping patterns and kind of, I don't know about you, but I think like I want to learn not quicker as in speedy, but just like I don't want it to have to nudge so many times that I crash and burn and then go fine. We want to learn to pay attention to it sooner. So that's what I know for you, is that is what you are here for. And the more you grow and the faster you notice these nudges, the quicker you will move forward. And as your coach, your friend, your guide on this path, I am reminding you today that your inner guidance is strong. You are resilient. You have visions. You have notions. You have ideas in there. You have nudges that have been coming through. And our job is to be good students of life, to learn to listen and to have patience and grace with ourselves along the way, but also getting the memo sooner. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. This actually comes straight out of my book. If you have not seen or grabbed my book, The Delicate Art of Transformation, I actually get really inspired by looking through the book and looking through the chapters and feeling what really needs to come forward today. So this episode is inspired by chapter 6, which is called Nudging Me Softly. And of course, if you want to grab the book, it's on Amazon. It's below. You can grab a copy today because it's incredible. So without any further ado, I think that's it. Actually, hang on, wait a second. The Bali retreat is officially open. I cannot go forward without mentioning that. Open to the public. We had the waitlist period. Now it is open to all. I am so excited. I'm going to drop the link below. If you feel called to return to yourself, this is what this retreat is all about. Returning to self, dropping in, receiving deeper clarity, confidence, healing through the body, through taking space for yourself in a very guided, nourishing, and let's be real, luxury way. It is an incredible resort. We get the whole thing to ourselves. I cannot wait to be in Bali with you January 2027. And as a Canadian, the thought of escaping in January is like, yes, please. So anyway, let's do that. The link is below for that. The cart is officially open and I'm so excited. So without anything else, without further ado, nothing else I gotta say, let's dive into today's episode. Take a deep breath. Take a sip of water, drop your shoulders, and let's dive in. I'm going to start this episode by reading about 3 paragraphs straight from the book because I think it gives you a really beautiful example, and then I'll let you know when I'm stopping reading from the book. So chapter 6 starts with, picture this. You're in your car on a road trip, windows down, breeze in your hair, blasting life as a highway on a hot summer day. As you drive, you're relying on GPS to navigate. Every once in a while, you hear turn left or turn right. You do as it instructs, and you continue on your happy way, snacking, singing, and never really questioning if you'll arrive. You have GPS. Of course, you're going to get there. So instead of Google Maps, you have a special gift inside that guides you on your journey. Intuition. Nudges from within, your built-in guidance system for life. This is your internal compass, always nudging you toward your highest good. Intuition is the language of the soul. Think about a time when something just didn't feel right, or when you were drawn to a certain person, place, or experience, or away from a certain person, place, or experience. We may all receive intuition a little bit different, but for some, it's a knowing. For some, it's a gut feeling. An idea, a vision, and either way, these little nuggets of guidance are the workings of your inner GPS saying, this way, or it's time to turn right. So I'm ending reading from the book now and just continuing with the episode. So intuition, or these inner nudges, these inner whispers, are the language of your soul, of your highest good. And the tricky part is that intuition, you've probably heard me say this before on the show, or if you've worked with me or in any of my work, the tricky part is that intuition whispers and fear or the ego or whatever it is, that voice screams. So the fear is loud. The fear is chaotic. The fear is like disheveling. The fear is like, you can't do that. What if they fail? It's very sort of dramatic, right? But the intuition is this whisper of saying, go with your heart, or over here, or you're made for more, you deserve better, to leave the relationship. Or maybe it's a very clear whisper to travel to a certain place, or to start a business, or end a business, or pivot, or whatever it is, right? So the tricky part is that your intuition, or that little voice on your heart, it whispers. It will nudge you gently. But the ego, the fear, all of it will yell. So the fear is yelling, what if I fail? What if, I get scammed? What if they take advantage of me? What if they break my heart? That is what the fear will yell. And the intuition will be this little calm, grounded, expansive, wise part of yourself that is just there, inviting you to grow, inviting you to listen, inviting you to peace. And we all have this. I look at it as like a little grain of sand. It might be in your heart. It might be in your center, in your solar plexus, in your third eye, wherever it is for you. It's this little inner Tahiti, this little portal of peace, of wisdom, and of highest good. And as we go through our life, you and I, we're seekers, we're self-growth junkies. You're probably on an awakening journey, a transformation journey. And our job becomes learning how to tune into that over the fear, learning how to believe our heart over the fear that says you're not good enough. So that's what we're talking about, recognizing these nudges and learning to gently listen more and more, or sooner and sooner. So that has been something that as I mentioned, I'm a human design reflector. It's literally the only mode that I have is reflection. So I really notice, and I'll offer this to you, that there's been many times, actually probably all of the times, when I know something needs to shift. Or even if it's whispers about like going on more walks for, my pain or for my mental health, or maybe a little whisper saying to take more breaks or to de-stimulate or to go away for a weekend on my own. It could be really big things like, in my business, when I've talked about pivots or relationships in the past. I was married before my husband now, and there was this gut feeling of like, this isn't right. And I just kind of knew. And, everything I've done, I look at it like that. And sometimes in a day, my inner whispers like, drink water. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, holy man, I'm thirsty. And I'll reflect and go, yeah, your inner voice all morning has been like, drink water, drink water, drink water, until I'm like, oh my gosh, my mouth is dry. Somebody get me some water. So I want you to reflect big, small, heavy things, really things that are very everyday, and just kind of seeing how you are being nudged. And the other part here that's really important is there is no shame in this arena. That we don't want to bring shame to the game. We don't want to bring shame into this room. We're having a good conversation. We are moving forward. We are empowered. We do not shame ourselves because everything happens in its timing. And just because you had a nudge for the last year doesn't mean that like eternally you should have listened sooner. It's not that dramatic. It's not everything is like, as soon as you got the nudge, you should have done this. But we are on this journey of practicing listening to that so that we can have our own back and just simply move forward faster over time. That's really what it's about. So even if you're like, yeah, I definitely had that nudge for 10 years before I acted, no shame. You can say it, you can be funny about it, you can reflect on it and say, yep, that's true, but please do not shame yourself because we've all done things, not done things, listened, not listened. And when we're in this healing game and, personal transformation game, what we are moving toward is more grace, more self-empathy, more self-confidence, more radiance, more magnetism, more loving ourselves for who we are, which includes all the things we've done. The awesome choices, the questionable choices, the choices that, you feel like, oh, that didn't pan out. And wow, that wildly panned out. All of it. You are perfect the way that you are. So I just wanted to say that. And I want you to note that even when we ignore these nudges, the nudges don't abandon us and they don't go anywhere. They wait patiently. They nudge again, they offer another thing, they show you, sometimes in life something presents itself. You're like, whoa, I was just thinking about that. Life will just continue to guide you. The same way that with the GPS, if it's like turn left and you're like, I'm going to turn right, it goes recalibrating, right? It will come in to be like, okay, fine. That was weird. You went rogue, but turn left up here and we'll get you back on track. That's literally what your intuition is doing. So please know that life is guiding you. It doesn't matter how many times you think you've taken a wrong turn. Your spirit team doesn't see it that way. Your highest self doesn't see it that way. I don't see it that way. It's about now tuning in. Now tuning into the nudges. Now getting back onto the GPS from wherever you are. So realizing whether you want to look at it as your team or, as I said, your highest self or just the goals that you have, they're still there. They're still there to move into at any time. So we can infinitely or we can ongoingly start to notice that wise, I almost want to say co-pilot. Let's do it like that. That wise co-pilot inside that's invested in your growth. That little whisper, that nudge on your heart, that God source energy, that highest good that you are made for its sparkle. Start listening to that more and more. The catch is, depending on where you're at, everybody's listening from different points right now in their journey and their exploration with intuition. But the one thing you need to start to do more of from wherever you are is to tune in more, is to ask your intuition, or if you're someone that's already in tune with your intuition, noticing the finer and finer tuned nudges. So that's where I feel that I've really been putting my focus in this last year. I've always been very intuitive. I've taught intuition and intuitive development for over 10 years. But for myself, I am getting better and better at the everyday moment to moment nudges with my nervous system. If I'm starting to get overstimulated, if I have something that I'm not speaking up, or something that triggers me, or something that doesn't feel good, or I'm hungry, but I'm ignoring it, or I'm thirsty, but I'm ignoring it. Sometimes it's really simple, but it's tuning into the more and more nuanced nudges. So these nudges can show up like mental thoughts, like reoccurring thoughts or ideas. It can come up as like curiosity, like, or an idea that drops in and just goes like, oh my gosh, it feels almost like you can't not do it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not using all proper English right now. But sometimes I get this nudge and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I almost want to run to my computer and start building the sales page, or I want to immediately implement it into my wellness routine or my workouts, or I just am like, oh, I can't not. So sometimes you get those feelings. Sometimes it's that reoccurring thought, that nudge, a pull toward change. These are very important. I don't know if I'm going to get fully into it in this episode, but even triggers and fear and resistance, these are also nudges. And a crazy thing that is true from my perception is that your triggers and your fears are actually the same direction as your growth. And we walk into them. We pull toward them. We don't run away from them because they are the same direction as your growth, as your desires, as the abundance you want. It will pull you through that stuff. So anyway, these nudges can be mental, the thoughts, the curiosity, the ideas, these kinds of things. It can be physical, like a gut feeling for any of you empaths. Those of you that are clairsentient, which is the intuitive gift of feeling. So, it can show up in your gut. It can show up in tension in your shoulders or your heart or on your chest, or you can physically feel your third eye buzzing or opening or activating. It becomes a very physical sensation. Maybe you're around something that is a yes or a person and you get light and fluffy in your energy, butterfly-y, but a no, someone makes you feel heavy or something like that. So also it can be spiritually or energetically, like seeing these nudges from life. So signs, synchronicities, numbers. If all of a sudden you start seeing Japan everywhere, or you start, hearing of something over and over again, you start to go, okay, fine, I'll buy that book. Fine. I'll do the thing. I'll look into that. These are messages from your soul. These are messages coming through life when we have these signs, these synchronicities, these alignments. So all of these are invitations, random ideas that make you feel like, oh, whoa, or that's amazing. Physical sensations that just give you that yes or no, spiritually or energetically, us getting signs, us feeling a deep nudge towards something. And sometimes we don't even know why. So beyond just the physical, mental, spiritual, I want you to think, what has been calling me? What has been on my heart? If my highest self was giving me one piece of advice right now in love, but also in like, this is for your highest good, what would that be? Where would you go? What would you do? So each of these are an opportunity. I want to just tell a little story. This is in chapter 6 as well. But a few years ago, I was recording this podcast at the time. So some of you would remember when it happened if you're like hardcore loyal people that are still here and were here then. But I had this idea. So I've been healing my relationship with my body and self-love, as you guys know that have been around. But a few years ago, I was on a walk and all of a sudden my spirit team, I got this idea of not looking in the mirror for a whole week. So I allowed myself to look at my face before like a Zoom call to make sure there's no chia seeds in my teeth or something like that. But I had been working on actively my relationship with myself and loving myself unconditionally. And I had started noticing just before this idea came in, I started noticing that if I wasn't looking in the mirror, like I'd get dressed, whether I was in comfy pants or it was something that I felt like powerful, but I'd feel good. I'd walk around the house, maybe I've got my coffee, whatever. I would feel good until I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. And I started noticing this like, feeling. And I call that a micro letdown. So I had just started noticing this. I noticed it, So it happened, which had happened forever, but then I became aware that it was happening. And I kind of went, whoa, I was feeling really good until I got like a side view of myself. So what was that? And it was like, there was judgment and, and like, you should be somewhere else by now. And, oh, you look frumpy or, and I go, ugh, it just would wash over me. And then I'd be walking around different. So I started noticing this was happening. And I kind of was going like, what is that telling me? Or like, that's really interesting that I'm determining or I'm allowing how I interpret my reflection to look. I'm allowing that to determine my mood. And I kind of over a couple days like realized that, but it was my judgment of my reflection. It's not just I allow how I look to determine my mood. It's my judgment of my reflection in that moment. Right now, because I may put on something different later and be like, hey, looking good. But it was that moment, how I judged myself, I allowed myself to then, or that would determine how I felt. So I started realizing this. And so I'm on a walk and I hear from my team, do not look in the mirror, like full length mirror for a week, and just base how you're doing on how you feel, not how you look. And the idea like ran through me. It scared me. I actually kind of was like, oh, I'll never follow through. But it felt important. So I went home and I draped scarves over my mirrors and I, told my husband, like, it sounds funny, but I'm just not going to do you mind if I put a scarf over this mirror, whatever. And I had the mirror for my face for like my makeup or my Zoom calls. And then I noticed things like when I was going to the washroom, I would normally look in the mirror and do these micro judgments. But instead I would look down at my hands as I'm washing them. I'm like smelling the lavender and the soap and, really like feeling myself washing my hands and just being in the moment. And so I would avoid mirrors, as I said, drape scarves over all the ones that I could. And just as I was going through my day, if I was in a mall or something like that, I just wouldn't look in the like shiny window, and I just really gave that gift to myself. And I thought it was funny at first. I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous, but it really started to change this whole thought and this whole evolution with my own body and with myself. So by stopping side-eyeing myself, by stopping silently critiquing myself like 29 times a day to be, underestimating, I started to feel my own strength, my own presence. How am I? How am I right now? Not just how do I feel about how I look, right? And I know some of you can really relate to that. And coming from an eating disorder, that was my whole life. Since the time I could remember, as I also share in my book, the book mirrors my story of healing with my body, as well as the transformation of the butterfly. And so I tell my story in that as well. So I talk about this, but since the time I was, 6, I was aware of my body and how I was the F word. I don't like using the word FAT. And I would compare myself and it started very young. So I had never really felt my own confidence, my own, like if I wasn't critiquing myself and feeling shame, how would I actually feel? It was huge. So as my inner guidance was asking me to shift my focus inward, it really worked. I started to feel a lot better. And that really helped me to remember that even when the scarves are down and I have a mirror again, it's a deeper lesson going on, that I can unconditionally love myself and I don't have to look at myself to judge and then allow that to do. It just kind of broke the cycle. So that tiny subtle nudge and then me deciding to do it really cracked something open. It actually changed my relationship with myself in a very short amount of time. And I remember, I wish I could remember what episode I told you guys all the story when it was really fresh, but I remember when I went back to the mirror, I actually looked different. And I was saying this to my husband, like, I'm not talking, I feel different. Like through my eyes, the filter had changed. Like through my own actual eyes, I was looking at myself going like, wow, you're doing a great job. It wasn't just like, wow, no, you're really beautiful, or, oh, you're not that big. Like it wasn't that. It was just, look at you, Talia. You're doing a great job. Wow, go body, go mind, go spirit. Yay. It's like it just shifted me. I was so ready for that level of healing. So that nudge really moved me toward where I am now, which my relationship with my body, how my body is, feels, weighs, it's dramatically different. And this was a huge piece of that years ago. There was this nudge that changed a lot. And the reason it changed a lot is because after years of healing my eating disorder and learning how to not control food, learning how to not be obsessed, learning how to just never weigh myself so that it didn't, send me in a spiral. That was different than learning how to fully love myself. So stopping disordered eating was different than fully loving myself. Those are just almost different arenas. And I had to do one and then realize, but do I fully love myself? Well, not yet. And that's okay. It's a journey. Does anyone fully this and that, right? I don't know, but I didn't. And I started working on that deeper. So the soft nudge of the mirror experiment brought me closer to my highest self and helped me to love myself unconditionally, without conditions. Small nudge, giant impact. So I want to talk now about listening, about acting on it. So we need to sort of slow down and create some space to either notice or acknowledge the nudges. So either to slow down and, do a meditation or some regulation or be in nature and ask yourself, what nudges are coming through about this? Or what does my heart say? What does my spirit team say? What does my intuition say? What do I feel is right? What would I love to do? What's on my heart? That requires a little bit of space. And if you're someone that's always being nudged and you have a strong intuition already, sometimes we need to create the space to write down what has been coming through lately. What do I know is next for me? What do I know I need to do? What have I not been acting on that I know my intuition's telling me to do? So either way, those create just a little bit, or those require just a little bit of space. And then we start to translate these nudges into tangible steps. Asking yourself, what is one action that's in line with my intuition that I could do right now? Even if it's drink water, go for a 10-minute walk, roll your shoulders back. Like, it doesn't have to be giant, crazy things. It's always, your intuition's always nudging you toward your highest path. So it will tell you to rest more, destimulate, a time when there's a time to get support or help, a time when it's time to leave that relationship. Like, it's telling you all the time, big and small. It's telling you to take a walk in nature. It's telling you to call a friend, to practice self-compassion, to take a bold action that's been on your heart. So whether it's a tiny action or a big action, it helps to build your trust with your inner GPS. It helps to strengthen your intuition. And best of all, in some ways, it helps you to move forward. It helps you to move forward into that which you want. Okay, so as we start to wrap up, I want to actually read from the end of this chapter. So I'm going to start reading now. When you trust your intuition, you start living in alignment with your highest self. Life doesn't necessarily become easy, but it does become more meaningful, more right feeling. You find yourself in situations that were made for you, with opportunities and experiences that resonate deeply with your soul. So listen closely, trust deeply, and follow where it leads. It's the greatest gift you have for navigating the journey of your transformation. And here's the thing, you always have a choice. Just like a GPS, you can follow the directions or not. But why would you not? Why would you freeball your way to Seattle when you could have step-by-step, real-time instructions? At any time you have free will. Listen to it or not. We all have put off the nudges of our soul. We've all ignored our intuition. But let me ask you, how did that turn out? Okay, that's the end of the chapter. So as we close, I want to ask you, and I want you to ask yourself, what is one soft nudge that you've been noticing lately? What is one huge nudge? Even if you don't feel ready, it's okay. I'm not going to just make you act, but what is a bigger nudge that really is there? And how can I honor the nudge? Even by saying, like, I hear you, I see you, verbalizing it out loud, maybe making a micro action. And what do you think will happen if you consistently trust the nudges more over time, no matter where you're at? Whether you are a channel and a pro or you're very new to it, what do you think would happen if you even more wildly trusted the gentle nudges? And let's just go to like a parallel reality right now where you trust them and act on them immediately. Just imagine for fun. Whoa. So remember, your intuition, the inner nudges, it's your inner GPS, and it will nudge you softly. It's always working for you. It's always guiding you. Yes, they tend to often get stronger, and sometimes it's a yell, but 98% of your nudges that will move you forward right now are a whisper. So we learn to listen to them. We learn to tune into the highest good, the growth, the alignment, and life may not just become easier overnight, but it becomes more meaningful. It becomes more aligned with the life you're meant to live, your fullest expression, your wildest dreams. So the question is, are you going to listen? Okay, so I hope this resonated with you. And one of the nudges that's been on my heart is Bali. I've never even been there, but that is why I knew it had to be my first destination retreat. It is going to be magical. If your heart and you've been nudged toward Bali, I would love to see you there as well. But either way, thank you so much for joining. And you can look in the show notes for any of the links I've talked about and more. And I will talk to you soon. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.